Every person has one bad movie they like and one classic that they don't like. As I noted in a video a few weeks ago, that's an expression I've always had. And as I also noted in that video, which you can find a link in the description to, there are a number of different reasons why any given person might like what is generally considered to be a bad movie. But today, I'd instead like to explore this from the opposite angle. Specifically, looking at why people sometimes don't like movies that are generally considered to be good. But this time I won't be using myself as the prime example and guinea pig, and instead going to draw on a rather interesting experience of mine in order to get my points across. And there may be minor spoilers ahead for anything that's brought up, so in case you don't want anything ruined about a particular movie, you might just want to be on the lookout. You have been warned. Okay, so at first glance it can be kind of easy to assume why somebody might not like a movie that's considered by most to be good, up to and including that it's just not their kind of thing. And that is most definitely true. However, sometimes there's more complex reasons why somebody may not like a quote-unquote good movie, and that's what leads us right into my little story. Years ago, maybe sometime in late 2017, I specifically went looking for a forum asking people if there were any critically acclaimed movies that they themselves didn't like. And I mainly did this because I was trying to see if anybody else had issues with a couple of quote-unquote classics that I did. But that's not relevant here. The point is, I ended up going to 3 different places asking that same question in total, and ended up seeing the same 4 movies brought up over and over again. It was like everybody was choosing from one of these same 4 movies out of the hundreds out there. Sure, there were plenty of other movies put into the conversation, but these 4 far and away superseded anything else that was mentioned. And these 4 movies were, in no particular order, Avatar, Gravity, Titanic, and How to Train Your Dragon 2. Now I don't recall which one specifically was mentioned the most, but these were the 4 titles I kept consistently seeing. Now it can be pretty easy to infer why people had issues with most of these, with that being their hype levels. 3 of these 4 movies in particular were propped up so highly that they could never even hope to live up to it, leading to some people's disappointment with them. And that, combined with the fact that the 3 live-action ones aren't exactly made with everyone in mind, and frankly I don't find this outcome too surprising. Especially because Avatar and Gravity were very big special effects movies, so naturally people that aren't really impressed by those, and particularly CGI, were going to be underwhelmed too. Because even people who hailed both those movies as masterpieces said that it's much more about the special effects than the story. So as a result, anybody who prioritizes an innovative story over innovative CGI was also going to be disappointed. And as for Titanic, let's face it, melodramatic romance just isn't appealing to some people. I mean, I personally feel James Cameron did wonders with this movie, but I can see why some people wouldn't like it for that aspect alone. But then we get to the one that I believe is the most interesting, How to Train Your Dragon 2. Now please do note that no stipulations were put on those forums. You were allowed to pick any movie you wanted as long as it was considered good. Now unlike the other 3, where I mostly glossed over what people had to say because it quickly got very predictable, I made a point of reading every single one that shows How to Train Your Dragon 2. And I still remember the one thing specifically that people kept bringing up, which was that they thought it was stupid that Hiccup really thought he could convince Drago to stop what he was doing just by talking to him, especially after being repeatedly told that he couldn't be reasoned with. Now, personally, I felt it was in character for Hiccup to believe that, but I'm going to keep that out of the conversation. Because the thing is, I can understand why people took issue with that. As I've stressed in countless videos, the audience can be really hard on the characters sometimes and quickly get annoyed if they do the wrong thing. And in this case, that one plot point led many people, most of whom were grown adults, mind you, to hate the whole movie for it. But again, even with that explanation, I just couldn't help but be surprised that so many people singled that out when asked which critically acclaimed movie they didn't like the most. So the point here is, these findings easily show in a nutshell only some of the reasons why a person might not like a movie that's considered good, a classic, or critically acclaimed. The movie may be too overhyped, and thus their expectations are set far too high from the start. The movie may be focused more on something any given person isn't interested in over something they are interested in. It might just have an element to it that they really don't like or have an extremely low tolerance for, or it might come from the characters doing or believing things that really tick the audience off. And listen, these are just people's opinions. They're totally entitled to feel that way and hate a movie for any reason that they want to, and I nor anybody else can say they're wrong for doing so. I still find How to Train Your Dragon 2 the most interesting, however, though I can't exactly say I'm surprised by it in hindsight. As I already mentioned, an audience can be very judgmental, and results like this only prove it. Though once again, they're most definitely not wrong for feeling that way. And the same goes for everybody else. You can feel any way you want about any movie you see. You can watch an absolute masterpiece and think it's horrible, or see an awful movie and think it's great, and nobody can tell you you're wrong. I'm mainly just trying to explain why people feel that way sometimes. Though I'm sure if anybody were to open up a new forum and ask that same question nowadays, they'd probably get some very different answers and movies that are singled out. Though quite possibly for the same reasons that those 4 movies were. Alright, that's everything I have to say on that. So now I'd like you to tell me, what do you think of these results? And do you have any popular or classic movies that you don't particularly care for? Whatever the case, please feel free to let me know in the comments. And as I just got through stressing, you don't have to agree with me or anything that was stated in this video. Your opinion is just as important as any other, and I don't judge you negatively for it. And thank you all for watching. It is all very much appreciated. And I hope to see you all next time.